What is the worst physical pain you have ever experienced? Second worst pain of my life. 3 broken ribs in a car accident. Worst pain of my life. Getting hiccups 3 days later. Almost died in a house fire once. It wasn't so much the skin melting. I was too in shock to feel that once I was out of the house. It was later in the hospital when the nurses had to scrape the skin off my back in a bathtub. I felt that. This is why the big burn centers just knock people out for that now. Kidney stones. It started as an ache in my back and within 15 minutes I was curled in a ball on the floor at work. 10 minutes after that I was bellowing at the top of my lungs in the air. If I never feel a pain like that again, I will be a very happy man. I was drunk and used Dave's insanity sauce on my tacos like it was regular old mild sauce. The next 36 hours of pooping molten lava every hour or so was just unbelievable. I'm not religious but I freaking prayed while I was on the toilet. Then I'd climb in the shower and spread my butt cheeks under the water to try and wash away the Satan. Shoulder put milk on your butthole. I stuck my hand in the tines of a snowblower to clear out some ice. It was in neutral without the blades engaged. Turns out that there was some residual torque left once I got the ice clear, and my jacket got caught on the blades. That pulled my hand into the chute which took off the top of my index finger and broke all my other fingers in a very painful manner. They were able to reattach my index finger, which was good, but then I woke up 2 days after with a severe red line running from my hand to my chest. The finger flesh had rotted and I had blood poisoning and spent a week in the hospital, and of course, lost the fingertip, just the tip. That wasn't the worst part, still. The most painful part was when they had to remove the pins from all my fingers. The pins had shifted and they actually had to sanitize a large wrench from the maintenance team to pull them out. Took 2 DRS and a few hours of immense pain, but I'm all good now. As long as there's no hacksaw, I guess. When I was 12 I was playing hockey and went feet first into the boards, broke 3 bones in my ankle, needed a metal plate and screws in my ankle. To make it worse, when I got home from the hospital my hamster died. Worst day of my life, so far. Cluster headaches. First time I had one, my mom took me to the emergency room because I kept sobbing about how I wanted to stab myself in the face and die to make it stop hurting. Frick those things. Try shrooms. I snapped my collarbone in half. Hard enough that people heard 50 feet away. Yeah, it hurt when it happened but there was adrenaline etc. After a visit and drugs everything was good. Came home and popped a movie in. Then I woke up the next morning at like 10 AM. Felt like something was wrong but I couldn't figure out what, so I jerked up and went to reach across my body with the wrong arm. I heard a scraping noise and involuntary tears came out of eyes and then I passed out. Probably nothing compared to most of the stories on here but I still think about it and sweat from time to time. I was going to write about the time I tore a ligament in my finger at football practice, but after reading some of these comments I will just keep to myself. Yeah, never mind about my childhood earaches. Minor. Very minor. Either being pulled from the wreckage of my car and having all of the pain from my ankles being shattered, my leg snapped, my knee broke, my hip fractured in 3 places and dislocated, 2 of my vertebrae fractured, 4 of my ribs fractured, and my spleen ruptured hitting all at once, or having my leg put in traction to keep my hip from working its way back into the socket. Somebody put the rod through my leg cockeyed and every movement shifted it so a specialist would come in and wrench the bar where it needed to be. Username checks out. Had both my big toenails removed after repeated ingrown nails in my teens. First they jam what is essentially a surgical screwdriver underneath the nail and scrape around like it's a goddamn oyster knife. They take surgical pliers and rip the sucker off. Then they sulfuric acid and burn the flesh underneath to damage the parts of your body that grows nails. It didn't really work in the sense that I still grow these really fricked up super thick nails, but it did work in the sense that they're no longer capable of becoming ingrown. The secret to the pain though, is that they were super infected when they were removed, and the only numbing applied was Novocaine, when apparently is nullified by infection. So I felt all of it. Ultimately they gave me 3 Lortab, and a big shot of Demerol. I slept for a 15 or so hours, and then woke up to life not being quite so painful crappy. Abscess on my tonsils. Doctor told me to take painkillers. Couldn't even swallow water. When I tried, my body would say no way and send the water out of my nose. My wife found me sitting in the kitchen floor crying. Wouldn't wish it on anybody. Appendicitis. My crap exploded and I not really kinda almost died. My friends have since asked me how to tell if you have appendicitis. Oh, my sweet prince. There will be no doubt in your mind you have appendicitis when you feel like there's a butcher's knife slicing up and down your right side. They ran a camera up Mr. Happy into my bladder and kidney to check out if everything was okay. I was assured that the camera was no bigger around than a Sharpie and they asked if I wanted to be put under for it. Obviously yes. After awakening, I was starting to pass a kidney clot. Imagine peeing a chicken liver, and it hurt very badly. I was given Vicodin, which turns out I'm allergic to. Please lie down. So while passing a huge clot and vomiting all over almost made me violent. I would have to say that was about as much pain as I've ever been in. Camera was no bigger around than a Sharpie. Yeah, heck no. Ain't putting no Sharpie in my dong hole. Had to have a plantar wart removed from my foot. It was about the size of a quarter. At the time, the preferred method was to freeze it off. Not with ice cubes, either. We're talking something along the lines of liquid nitrogen. Super cold crap. Applied for a few seconds to the bottom of my foot. I knew I was in for some crap when I noticed the handprints in the arms of the chair. A podiatrist chair is like the one at your dentist, but instead of lifting your mouth up, it lifts your feet up to the level where the doctor can work on them. It was upholstered in green vinyl. This was the early 80s, and the ends of the arms looked like some poor bastard had died gripping the chair. I soon learned why. Holy frick, did that hurt. I can't accurately describe it other than to say that at a certain point, cold begins to burn. The worst part is that I needed several treatments before the cluster of warts finally died off. I had 7 removed at once, 4 on one foot, 3 on the other. They used a razor blade to core them out and then froze them off. The pain was so bad that I had to take 6 weeks off work, bed tech, so I'm always on my feet. It was one of the worst times of my life. I punctured my hand with an oyster knife. They had to clean it since there was shell in the wound. They used a pressure syringe to wash it out. However, they didn't know I had cut the nerve in my hand. The feeling of water shooting on my freshly severed nerve almost made me puke, pass out and jump off the bed all at the same time. Testicle torsion. Viral meningitis and meningitis headache and several spinal taps because Bronx hospitals are very good. It was a lovely third week of college. Been there. With meningitis your brain is literally being crushed by spinal fluid. I instantly passed out when the spinal tap released some of the pressure. Okay, so I've taken some hard falls during dirt biking and skiing accidents, but some of the most excruciating pain was when I put toothpaste on my balls. Now I know that sounds incredibly random, but it makes sense in context. I was watching an episode of Top Gear, and Jeremy Clarkson said something about putting toothpaste on your balls. Now I had never heard of this, so I decided that when the episode was over, I would go do science. I went up to the bathroom and lathered my balls in toothpaste. Now if you don't know, the menthol in toothpaste causes this coldish burning feeling that won't go away. I don't know if the toothpaste was extra mentholy or if I had put on too much, but I was in so much pain. It wouldn't go away. I tried to wash it off but it was too late. I sat in the shower, in the fetal position, with the shower pouring warm water on me. Never again will I listen to Jeremy Clarkson on what to put on my testes. Years ago, when I was a dumb, naive teenager, I got the bright idea to try using toothpaste as lube during some quality alone time. I literally feel your pain. Broken jaw. 1/10 would not do again. Sucked so many donkey balls. Also having a broken jaw was crap too. You sucked so many donkey's balls that you broke your jaw. I was kicked in a way that it hit both my ballsack and my tailbone at the same time. I'm so sorry. Got hives, which has a wonderful variety of ways it will decide to reject food, but the worst ones are the clog ups. Whatever's inside just stops moving and my whole body slows to a crawl. All I can do is fall to the shower floor in agony, let the hot water flow over me and pray that my body will hit one of the eject buttons. Inguinal hernia. That's a hernia in your crotch and migraine and puking. -1000/10 do not recommend. It's a tie between falling off a 2-story building and appendicitis. Boned on driver's side. Broken jaw in 2 places. Broken all ribs on left side. Knocked out bottom front tooth. Punctured lung. Spleen ruptured, internal organs fricked. Broken hip socket. Passed out from the pain and my chest cavity filling up with blood, lung deflated. Woke up from the paddles to start my heart again. Had to cut my car open to get me out. 1 year rehab to walk again. 6 surgery on my face. Tons of rehab and lifelong issues with my sacroiliac joint now. Pooping after childbirth. One night out on the town I got hooked in the jaw when my mouth was open mid-sentence. I was so maggot that I didn't really think much of it. Until I woke up. Holy freaking heck, that pain is something I will never forget. I walked out and sat on the couch while my dad was looking at the news on his PC and asked him to take me to hospital. Few hours later I get told I had a tiny hairline fracture on my jawbone. Most painful thing that I've ever had to experience, and it was minor, as far as broken jawbones go. I hate being maggot. The first time I had pancreatitis. Appendicitis in early 2016. Felt like I was being stabbed. One of the Tridge nurses at the asked out of 10 what the pain would rate as. If I had a clear head I should have said 17. I had stitches on my nail bed after an injury, and a few weeks later the skin started to heal. Once it was time to take the stitches out, the doctor just ripped off the skin that was in the way and ripped out those stitches. I was going to talk about my painful stitches experience, but frick it, you win. Recovering from a bone graft 10 years ago comes to mind. One time when I was a kid I had a splitting headache that hurt so bad I was crying and screaming until I lost consciousness. Never had it looked into, and that's the only episode I've had to date. I once tried to do a bar spin on my bike when I was a kid. The handlebars were sharp from dropping the bike on the pavement. I caught the end of the bar in my belly as I failed the bar spin. The bike was against the ground and the bar stabbed me in the belly. It hurt like Satan. Still have a circle scar on my belly. Gallstones. I thought I was dying on the way to the ER and said my goodbyes to my husband. 2 times. Once, when I accidentally ripped my big toenail off by yanking on a pair of jeans with a hole in the knee. The toenail caught the edge of the hole and just ripped right off. I'm a grown man, but I cried and puked. That toenail never did grow back right. I also had the memorable experience of having dry socket in both of the sockets from my wisdom teeth in my lower jaw. It's not a sharp, sudden pain, but a never-ending agonizing, throbbing pain that made me seriously consider suicide for the first, and hopefully last, time in my life. At least it will stop hurting then. I discovered the miracle of clove oil. My oral surgeon was unaware that you can buy clove oil at the drugstore. He was amazed when I told him that I didn't need to actually make another visit to his office to get a clove oil treatment. The dry socket was still horrible, but at least I knew that I could temporarily numb the pain. Kidney stone passage. It was tiny, but shaped like a shuriken. That's a pain I won't soon forget. Usually, his fists pounding the crap out of the bathroom wall. Skinned my left arm, wrist to elbow falling off a longboard. Initial pain was nothing compared to water touching the wound in the shower the next day. Trip over my boyfriend foot, now husband, and fell down a flight of stairs. I broke both of bones on my right and left forearm. They set 4 bones in place on the spot. The next month was a living heck for me. My daughter ripped off part of my nipple while breastfeeding. It got infected and I had 6 surgeries and half the fat from my breast scraped out. We had to leave the surgical cut open for nearly a month and I had to manually open the cut and restuff it with gauze 3 times a day. One time my daughter pooped all over me and her while I was changing her, so I took us both into the shower to wash up. She saw a strip of gauze hanging out from my open breast wound and ripped the 12 inches of it out. It all happened so fast and was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Easily worse than labor pains. I had trigeminal neuralgia for the entire year of 2015 as well as massive pain from a wisdom tooth. I think the neuralgia set off the tooth, but I had no idea about the tooth as I'd never had neuralgia before. The pain was freaking horrendous. I called it suicidal pain simply because the whole year I questioned why the frick I was still living in the pain. Last year 2016 was the first time I'd had no pain. but the insane amount of hardcore pain meds I had been trying and using for a whole year totally fricked my system and I'm only just starting to feel decent again. Corneal abrasion. That was rough for a few days. This thread is making me very self-aware of all my body parts. It's resulting in a very uncomfortable feeling. I can't describe it, but I'm sure you know what I mean. This is a money dog. Upvote in the next 24 hours and money will come your way. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video. Or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.